Hello, welcome to my video. Today I'm gonna do my phonetic exercise. So let's get started. Languages don't just die naturally. People abandon their mother tongues because they are forced to. Often the pressure is political. In 1892, the U.S. Army General Richard Henry Brett argued that killing indigenous cultures was the only alternative to killing indigenous people. Kill the Indian, he said, but save the man. And until 1978, the government did just that, removing indigenous children from their families and forcing them into boarding schools where they were given English names and punished for speaking their languages. Assimilation was a complement to genocide. 7,000 languages are alive today, but few are recognized by their own government or supported online. So, for people from the vast majority of cultures, globalization remains profoundly alienating. It means giving up your language for someone else. And if nothing changed, as many as 3,000 languages could disappear in 80 years. But things are changing. Around the world, people are reviving ancestral languages and rebuilding their culture. As far as we know, language reclamation began in the 1800s when, at a time of rising anti-Semitism, Jewish communities looked to the ancestral language, Hebrew, as a means of cultural revival. And though it had been dormant for over 1,000 years, it was well preserved in books and language, religion, and philosophy. So, Jewish activists studied and taught it to their children, raising the first native speaker in nearly 100 generations. Today is the mother tongue of 5 million Lus. And at least for me, an assimilated English-speaking member of the Jewish diaspora, I'll peel up cultural sovereignty. 2,000 years later, we're still here. Now, until recently, Hebrew reawakening we're still here, and now until recently, Hebrew's reawakening was an anomaly. Few languages are as well preserved, and the creation of Israel, the first Jewish state in over 1,000 years, provided a space for Hebrew's daily use. In other words, most cultures just weren't given a change. That was a Cornish, an ancestral language of Cornwall, which today is technically a culture in southern England. In the 1900s, Cornish activists fought for their culture. The languages had been dormant for over 100 years, but they used old books and plays to teach it to their children. However, this new generation of Cornish speakers was crossed and unable to use language freely. By the 1990s, Cornish had reawakened, but it wasn't thriving. Then, in the early 2000s, Cornish speakers found one another online and leveraged digital space to speak on a daily basis. From there, they organized weekly or monthly events where they could gather and speak in public. Today, some schools take Cornish. Their Cornish language sign, ice cream commercial, Wikimedia, and even memes. He's showing some meme. And with their language once again intact, the people of Cornwall, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, they started down century of force and said, "We are not a country in England. We are a people in our own right, and we are still here, and they are not the only ones." The Tunica Biloxi tribe of Louisiana is reviving the ancestral language. She's talking. It started in the 1980s when Donna Peart and her family started taking trips to a city, to Baton Rouge and New Orleans, to photocopy old dictionaries, store away in university archives. The goal was to study Tunica and take it to the children and share it with the community. Today, we are leading a Tunica renaissance. Since 2014, there are nearly 100 speakers in language immersion classes. And according to a 217 seasons, 32 new fluent speakers, some of whom, like Donna's daughter Elizabeth, and are teaching Tunica to their children. These new speakers are creating content, Facebook video, and also memes. He's showing memes. And the more they publish, the more they inspire other Tunica people to get involved. Recently, a tribal member living in Texas wrote Elizabeth on Facebook asking how to say "bless these lands." It was for a yard sign, so she could show her neighbors that her culture is alive and thriving today. Now, Hebrew, Cornish, and Tunica are just 3 examples from a groundswell of language activism on every continent. And whether they are Jaro speakers from the Channel Islands or Kenyan Sign Language speaker from Nairobi, all communities working to preserve or reclaim a language have one thing in common: media, so that their language can be shared and taught, and as internet grows, expanding media access and creation. Preserving and reclaiming ancestral language is now more possible than ever. So, what are your ancestral languages? Mine are Hebrew, Yiddish, Hungarian, and Scottish Gaelic. Even though I was raised in English, and luckily for me, each of the languages is available online. Hebrew in particular, it came installed on my iPhone. It's supported by Google Translate. It even has autocorrect. And while your language may not be as widely supported. I encourage you to investigate because chances are someone somewhere has started getting it online. Reclaiming your language and embracing your culture.